Child labor remains a widespread problem in developing countries that is known to bear negative consequences in terms of economic and social development.
The International Labour Organization estimates that there are 215 million economically active children, of whom 115 million are engaged in hazardous work. The largest number of child laborers is in the Asia-Pacific region at 113.6 million, followed by Sub-Saharan Africa at 65.1 million, in Latin America and the Caribbean at 14.1 million. Sub-Saharan Africa presents the most alarming picture. 1 in 4 children are child laborers in the region, compared to roughly 1 in 8 in Asia Pacific and 1 in 10 in Latin America and the Caribbean. The Child Labor Analytical Report released by the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics in June 2008 indicated that as many as 700,000 child laborers, or 7.9% of the total number of children, are still working and remain deprived of quality education, good health and other basic needs. "79.5% of these children are found in agriculture, 7% in domestic work and 14.7% in other sectors."
The SNAP project creates the enabling environment that establishes structures and models for child labor-free areas in Kenya. The main objective of the project is to support the Kenyan government in the implementation of the National Action Plan, with a special focus on agriculture and older children aged 15 to 17 years.
The government has put in place the necessary legislative framework which is supportive towards the elimination of child labor. This includes the Children's Act, the Employment Act, the Anti-Trafficking in Persons Act, the Sexual Offences Act, National Policy on Child Labor, National Action Plan for the Elimination of Child Labor, National Policy on Orphans and Vulnerable Children, Free Primary Education, and Policy for Alternative Provision of Basic Education and Training. These acts and policies set forth legal obligations of all duty bearers, the government, parents and civil society, to protect, respect and fulfill the rights of children.
The Ministry of Labour is one responsible for coordination of child labor activities within the country. We are also responsible for approving national action programs, which the other implementing agencies or development partners are undertaking. So we submit those programs to the National Steering Committee, which are approved for implementation. At the same time, we have the National Steering Committee on Child Labor, which is the overall body. It is an interministerial body composing of 18 members who are drawn from government, a non-government organization, faith-based organization, an international community like ILO, which now that body is overall body which is responsible for formulation of policies regarding to child labor.
The SNAP project is being implemented in 3 districts, namely Busia, Kilifi and Kitui, with an overall coordination office in Nairobi.
This project is in support of the government's National Action Plan on the elimination of child labor, which has been prepared by the government of Kenya through the Ministry of Labour. This project has been under implementation since the year 2010, and we have worked through a strategy called the Integrated Area-Based Approach, whereby we work in particular selected areas to ensure that in those particular areas all forms of child labor are tackled, that the underlying factors that contribute to child labor are dealt with, and that partnerships are built so that it's not just the project working in this area, but other partners, both from NGO sector, the government, and parents and volunteers are all working in this area.
The project supports the government in strengthening the national, regional and district level policies, institutional and social structures for action against worst forms of child labor.
Coming to the hazardous work, it's either by nature or the circumstances, so not necessarily everything that can be easily identified. It might depend. And that's the reason why the ILO conventions don't list up everything for you. It's for you to decide in the national consultation. So, likely to jeopardize or harm health, safety, and morals of children. Occupational safety and health, it's very important, even for adults, yes. But because children are still in the growing physically or psychologically growing stage of life, they need more protection. That's why it's really important to specify these work in the very detailed way, scientific way. And hazardous work is at the same time the question of worst forms of child labor, but also minimum age. And that's how it's very important to properly fix the rules, because this will help the young people introduced properly into the workplace.
ILO's engagement with our social partners has been very instrumental in elimination of child labor. Some of the activities we have been able to do with the Ministry of Labor, COTU, and Federation of Kenya Employers have actually gone a long way in elimination of child labor. For instance, with the Ministry of Labor, we have been able to support them in the creation of an integrated network on child labor focal points. In November 2011, organizations came together, NGOs and development partners and civil society came together with the need of wanting to form a network whereby we could share experiences on child labor issues, and whereby we could also have joint activities to create synergy and partnership building. Due to this need, the Ministry of Labor was able to call together the partners and form the what we call the network, which started off with NGOs. However, later on we discovered that there was a gap whereby we needed to include the government, key government ministries, and with that we were able to support the Ministry of Labor to call 19 key government ministries to be part of the network, which has definitely gone a long way, especially in finalization of the child labor policy, for instance, and also the review of the hazardous list. With COTU, we have been able to support them in building the capacity of trade unions to eliminate child labor. We have also been able to support them in development of a mainstreaming guide on issues of child labor for trade unions. With the Federation of Kenya Employers, we have been able to work with the informal business sector in terms of building their capacity on occupational safety and health for their young workers. So all in all, I would say that our collaboration with our partners has been really the key towards achieving many of these goals that we are seeing in Kenya today.
The Federation of Kenya Employers is affiliated to the ILO as the employer's representative on the governing body. It's very involved in the decisions of the ILO. It has contributed to policy making at international level for many years. We have been able to sensitize the communities around, especially where we have members who have a large population of people, to ensure that children do go to school. Recently, we've introduced what we call Adopt a School program, which is aimed at mobilizing employers and the corporate world to see their efforts in child labor as their corporate social responsibility. And I'm very happy to say that many corporates are willing to work with us in this. Already we have 4 corporates in 4 regions in this country who have started programs either aimed at providing school feeding programs, upgrading the quality of classrooms, starting income generating projects for the schools within their communities so that parents can have money to buy uniforms, to pay fees and to feed their children. So employers see the contribution in the work of child labor and eliminating it as our contribution to preparing future generations.
The International Labour Organization did immense job in the agricultural sector of our economy to make sure that we reduce the abuse on our children, and our children go to school. And the sensitization that court has carried out has immensely reduced child labor in Kenya. And I can tell you what court did mobilize using the ILO funds and the support from the ILO, did mobilize all opinion leaders in the agricultural sector in our areas, church leaders, the administrators, provincial administration, politicians, local authority leaders, and those people who matter, including teachers, to sensitize the child labor elimination in our agricultural sector. The Kenya Plantation and Agricultural Workers Union, where the abuse was rampant, we employed a full-time coordinator in this project of child labor. And child labor has been one of the significant, successful projects of the International Labour Organization in Kenya that I can say.
The National Council has been very vocal on issues of implementation of children's rights, in that we ensure that all the children's rights, based on the 4 pillars of United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, are implemented in this country. What we do is that we have our own structures that have been rolled down from the national level to the districts in form of the area advisory councils.
We've been working with the ministries at the district level to be able to mainstream child labor into their policies and programs. For example, we've worked with the Ministry of Agriculture to be able to support families with the seed for themselves by starting income generating activities within their localities. We've been able to withdraw about 2,900 children from child labor. That's combined preventing and withdrawal of children from child labor within the district, working with 24 schools. We've also been able to impart skills to youth who are between 15 and 17 years old, and protect some who are already working, who are 16 and 17-year-olds.
The local child labor committees have been formed at the locational level, and we say they have been formed at the local level because that is the source of child labor. And apart from the local child labor committees, the ILO EPEC program has assisted us to strengthen the district child labor committees. We have several programs, one of them being the development of the bylaws. We have a team which is headed by this ministry. It is co-chaired by this ministry together with the Children's Department, and we are working on a bylaw which will assist us in this region to curb this menace called child labor.
We have a team, children's protection team, and we have in that team, we have the stakeholders or the players. We normally have our children care and protection committees meetings on a monthly basis, and where need be, we can hold it even on a weekly basis. That's one way of trying to see that we protect the children, because we are not everywhere, but other partners, they are all over in the county. So we work hard in hard. Then we conduct that the police ops in hotels and the lodges, so that we check whether the children are being allowed into lodgings or they are being sexually molested, because once they are taken to the lodgings, other things can happen. Then the bars and the restaurant, we make sure they don't admit the juveniles or any child. So anybody who that's below the age of 18 years. So that's the much we are doing. And then we contact our neighbors, the Ugandans, because once we swap this side, they run to the other side. They grow the country. So we coordinate.
Areas that we are working in as RIP in terms of child issues, we are working on child right protection in general.
And also we are working with ILO under child labor elimination. We are paying for them school levies, we buy uniforms to them, we buy books, and we also offer psychosocial support to these children.
Nilikuwa nimekuja kuishi na nyanya yangu huku. Na nyanya yangu alikuwa hawezewi. Sasa alikuwa ananiambia eti niende tulime futi. Alafu yeye anabaki nyumbani. Naenda kulima futi. Nikirudi ananipea kazi, anasema eti hapa hatuna cha kukula, eti enda ushageko sukari mtungi moja. Ninaenda. Siku moja kulikuwa kuna baba alikuwa anatoka shuleni kulipia mtoto wake. Akaniambia eti mtoto kuja tuende nyumbani. Tukaenda pale kwa nyanya yangu. Tulipofika akamwambia eti kuna watu wa RIP, shirika la RIP limekuja kwa shule linasaidia watoto wenye hawajiwezi. Nyanya yangu akaniambia eti watu usijioshe, nikavaa tu venye nilikuwa. Tukaenda, tulipofika watu wa RIP wakaniandikisha. Waliponiandikisha nyanya yangu akarudi nyumbani, nikaanza kusoma. Nilikuwa sieleweki shule. Watu wa RIP wamenisaidia sana kwa kuninunulia sare ya shule, kunilipia malipo ya shule yote.
I was being engaged in a sugar plantation weeding. This because yes, I'm in Form 3, but it came to time when the paying of school fees was very hard. When it came to time of paying maybe money for doing exam, it was very difficult, and this forced me to drop out maybe one day of the week to go and weed my neighbor's sugar plantation so that I could get that money for paying exam. Maybe per day I could be paid 150 shillings, and you know that 150 shillings cannot support all my needs. There is one sister of mine who was also giving me some support, so she could add whatever I had with her support and I could take it to school. I came to be identified by this organization one day when I was in school. 2 people came. They told the principal that they were looking for some students to sponsor who were in child labor. So the principal was able to identify some 2 of us who indeed him as an individual was saying that we were undergoing some harsh labor at home there. So we were called by the 2 ladies and we were asked some questions. We answered them, and indeed they saw the type of labor or hard task that were being engaged in at home. And they told us that we are sponsored by that organization and they are ready to support us in our education. I've come now to know that I've improved in my studies and even improved morally.
The Catholic Diocese of Kitui is a partner of ILO in fighting child labor. Some of the activities that we are taking with ILO are, we are trying to identify the children who are in child labor within a given location. We are working in one location of Kitui Central District, a location called Changwidhia West. We are discussing with the children and the parents on how they can move out of child labor and go back to school. We are targeting children under the age of 18. And then once we reconcile with the parents and the children, we take the children back to school.
I've been working close with the Child Welfare Society of Kenya since 2011. We formed a club with the children and we have 3 teachers who work with them. We have been going to different seminars on how to deal with these children, and especially those who are less advantaged. And through our partnership with the Child Welfare and ILO, we have seen there is some change. At least the parents are now very much aware that some work is too much for the children, and due to that, performance was very low. So we have given awareness to the parents, and we have seen some children have improved.
The district child labour committees and the local child labour committees, on the other hand, used media to transmit information to the public.
Some of the activities we've done in partnership with ILO has been on training journalists on how to report on child labour. These trainings we've conducted with journalists from Kilifi, from Kitui and from Busia. We felt the journalists need to be trained is because of the coverage that we've seen in the newspapers and also, you know, in electronic media.
The schools and the children themselves have taken the fight against child labour further by forming clubs that conduct and participate in awareness-raising activities. For example, drama, music, poetry, which act as a tool to boost confidence and leadership skills in the children.
Nataka kufundishwa elimu iliyo bora. Nataka kuzindishwa ya dunia na ahera. Nataka elimishwa niweze kutia fora. Sitaki kunyanyaswa na hasa kubaguliwa. Sitaki kubakwa, maisha kuharibiwa. Sitaki kutumiwa na haki kudhulumiwa.
In Kilifi, a football team has been formed. Football for the empowerment of girls and the elimination of child labour. Elimu Kwanza, Kataa Ajira, meaning education first, say no to child labour. For the post-primary children aged between 15 to 17 years, the ILO IPEC SNAP project, in collaboration with other partners, send these children to polytechnics where they learn skills, be it hairdressing, tailoring, carpentry, masonry, to acquire skills that will prepare them for decent employment and be self-reliant and to help out their poor families and parents back home.
Fanny Sanyango is a girl of 17 years. We talked to her and we placed the girl in vocational training. Then after training, the trainer found out that the girl was competent and she also decided to expand her business and opened another salon. Fanny is the one who is now running that salon.
We are also supporting the guardians, especially on the issues of poverty, and we want to make sure that some of these child labor issues are affiliated with poverty, and that's why the children are running to go and look for daily bread. But also the issue, we cannot rule out the issue of HIV and AIDS, that both parents die or one parent die, and these children are being frustrated and they move to the street and they go for the cheap labor.
We have formed these groups in order to support their children, and we have trained them to contribute at least 10 shillings, 20 shillings in order after 6 months to benefit from this one by getting loans. Many children now are going to school, they are not failing, their parents are paying their fees, others they are getting money to support them in food and in clothes. These parents you see here, they are over 200 and they are benefiting from getting money from the program. They get at least 3,000, they go and spend 1,000, the 2,000 they go and do their small scale businesses.
Sasa kwa au kundi au KDC wakawa na hii achi machine, wakawa wanaishi vifaranga, tukakuja tukaelimisha kina mama juu ya hizo vifaranga. Sasa mimi nika take initiative, nikaona wacha nichukue ndio nikuwa example. Sasa out of 22 nikauza about 4. Ikiwa 6 months inaanza kutanga mayai. Wakiwa na 2 months you can sell that kuku, unapata pesa. Na ukipata pesa unaweza kuitumia kwa mama yako, kuwa una wasiwasi. Mtoto ana wasiwasi, pia wewe una wasiwasi. Sasa kama hizi zangu nilianza hivyo. Na kwa sasa hii I'm happy because sasa KDC ndio na supply na mayai.
Yenye tamuzie na azeni muvea munene ni kwithia muladi uzuila wogie na twoze wasiana isu ni twe kwigwa ta ikundi twende neza ni kwithia ni tutethe twe kwizila mibeani mingi nitonenga wa uniform ya ciana tukane dawa zila cia yetu na tukaiviwa mbesa cia mahitaji ma ciana sukulu wethia ni cia mwalimu tukaiva cia mui tukaiva na ni tukuiwa twende neza ni kwithia yo ndola ciana ina lunganga ciana na gwiti na tutanamba kwetwe mulandi kwa ina thina mwingi nondu ciana no mala kwa mala ni cienukie nondu tuyaino kwati mwingi ende yuto tona kwa cia KDC ni twikite neza na tukatunga muvea na tukacia.
Many people in the community have noticed the importance of children being in school, and therefore they have become agents of change. They go as far as reporting those parents who involve and practice child labor and those that do not take their children to school.
So far, we have managed to deal with the children who have been found either in child labor or at risk. And the project has targeted over 8,000 children in these areas. Some of those children have been targeted for prevention, others for withdrawal, and others for protection, those who are 16 to 17 years. We have also worked with children in the creation of child light clubs, where we are implementing child participation programs through the use of SCREAM, a tool developed by ILO on child participation. We have also worked very closely with parents who have been identified as being unable to support their children fully to be in school. We have provided education materials, school fees, in some cases school levies, examination fee. We have also provided uniforms. We have provided sanitary towels in case of girls. And on a needs basis, we have been able to provide the items identified for each child.
So that families can then and inputs